Just a quick question. Will there be some discussion in the workshop around like sand dredging, sand mining? If you look at the examples and where resource consents are granted to sand dredgers to take sand from Pakiri to probably replenish Orewa and Mission Bay, and what impact that has on the locals in terms of erosion around their beaches.
Through the Chair, yeah, this is the joy of looking at things as systems, is that we will be looking at that whole system, including the effects. We're looking at options very, very high level for the strategy, but it will be looking at options in terms of their local effects, wherever those effects are. Yeah.
Councillor Wayne Walker.
Yeah, this is commendable. I've just got a question, and I guess it arises from my attendance at the ICLEI conference, which was dealing with climate change adaptation and also mitigation. And certainly what was apparent to me from talking to politicians, mayors, officials in a whole bundle of other cities is that many of them are well advanced around climate change adaptation. So not just in respect of dealing with coastal issues, but stormwater, heat effects in cities, resilience, power supplies. I mean, I could go on. So my concern is that if at all possible, we need to be engaging with other cities that are already well advanced in respect of comprehensive responses, so that we're not reinventing the wheel, we're using those relationships that we already have, and also because we're a leading city, I would hope a leading city in New Zealand, that also we're liaising with other areas like Kings Coromandel and others, so that we've got a collaborative response. But I would just emphasise it's not just about the coastline. That's often the area that you actually see, but there are a myriad of other things. And I guess the particular concern that I've got is there's a significant gap between the IPCC and the International Panel on Climate Change results that truck through, and just what's happening on the ground in terms of climate change that we see in terms of responses around us. It's really bad news. And I guess what I'd bolt on to that, Mr. Chairman, is that a number of cities are actually taking an active lead in looking at the COP21 negotiations, which are in Paris later on this year, which go towards trying to get some agreements around mitigating climate change. Because if we do not do that, it's absolutely worst case scenario. I don't know whether our city is in a position to do that, but certainly other cities are. Adaptation's one thing, but if you can actually prevent it, so much the better.
Thank you. Councillor Darby, you're the last speaker.
Yeah, look, I commend the staff for bringing this report, and we did ask for a coastal update because the issue was coastal erosion at the time, but of course that is part of a much more complex and deadly web, and there's just no doubt about it. I know there's, for some politicians, it's a bit of a struggle to say the word climate change, and I think we've got a challenge there to rewrite that discussion. But I guess I'd like this to, when this comes back, I think this needs to expand out quite a bit more. Otherwise, we'll be just picking off the coastal edge. This is a phenomenal issue. And I don't think anybody in Dunedin last night, whether they were near the coast or in the highlands or whatever Dunedin looks like, I've been there for a while, but they had 175 millimetres of rain. Now they called it a 1 in 100 year event, stormwater event, except a 1 in 100 year stormwater event is something that exceeds, I think, 120 millimetres of rainfall in a 24-hour period. So they exceeded that level by almost 50%. Absolutely phenomenal, and it was in quite a narrow band, but it pretty much got all of Dunedin, but mainly South Dunedin. And you just cannot escape that. And it can, if that sort of event struck Auckland's city centre, it would affect this city's economy significantly. You know, and if you have these mini tornadoes that are showing up. Holsonville, classic example. Devonport had a small one a couple of years ago. These things were sort of unheard of, and now they're just popping up all over the place. And most of Auckland can ignore it because it didn't happen in my patch. But when it happens in your patch, it's just absolute mayhem. And I think we've got a really big issue here, and it is an issue that is going to not go away for probably a couple of centuries if we do it right, but we've got to start doing the hard yards now. We cannot back down on this, but it is much more than coastal. So we do have the Chief Sustainability Officer's position in place now. I would like to see the Chief Sustainability Officer be one of the lead officers on this body of work as well. But we need to be very wide-ranging in our understanding and attack on this issue. When we come to see our next 10-year budget, there's going to be a budget line there that has something like our resilience budget line is going to have to be in there, and it's going to have to be looking pretty substantial. Because when these things hit, you cannot, this city, an international city like ours is becoming, we cannot afford to not be prepared. It is, I just stress to you all, us all, this is a major issue, and I get a feeling around our table that there's a real willingness to deal with it now, and we're going to have to bring governments and other parties up to pace as well. Some are willing, some not so willing, but we just can't delay on this any longer.
Thank you. Councillor Fletcher,
I'm just going to move.
I was going to let Councillor
happy to
Walker
move.
would move it. You can second it. I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
There's a new B there, don't forget, people. So that is just request staff report back by October 2015 on key outcomes of August's political workshop and the proposed work program for the approval of the committee. So it'll come back in October, or by October. Okay, I'll put that. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Declare that carried. Can we just, before we go break for lunch, we've got the information items. I'll move that we receive the two items. Second by Councillor Casey.
Question, Chief.
Councillor, yes?
What's the Maori impact statement? Which are the ones that iwi inputs were placed into?
In the what, sorry?
Stormwater,
Maori impact.
confidential.
Number 15.
Oh,
Maori impact statement.
they're memos. They obviously haven't got.
It's just information items.
Was that, yeah, so I still want to ask the question.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Which were the ones?
So the principle that we're adopting with for information items is that there are no questions. If you want to ask questions, go directly to the officer. Otherwise, we end up having a debate about for information items. So it's a memo. You're welcome to go directly to the officer that's prepared that.
That's Mr. Edhouse, is it? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Dean.
Mr.
Chair, just clarification, we're just going into confidential after lunch, but
Yeah.
these two items, Takanini Stormwater and Unsworth Heights acquisition, are they going to be lengthy items? Maybe we discuss and pass and put them through now if there's...
Can we have lunch first?
I think we'll have lunch first, okay?
It might be more lengthy than what you think.
Overruled.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour of
Aye.
that information
stomach
item to be
rolls.
received? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. We'll break for lunch. Can we be back in about 20 minutes or so? Half an hour. We want half.